So all of a sudden, I sat there that day and everything, all them last 6 weeks that I got everything ready for, it was useless. It wasn't going to be this way. And so all of a sudden, I started then sort of walking into the wing, and I'd start talking to prisoners who had reading and writing problems. I started talking to all the staff, and I was telling them about my son and the mentoring project I was trying to sort of set up. And again, originally, I was going to bring mentors from the outside into the prison. But what I could see as I was starting to talk to some of these prisoners, I realised that I could actually use a prisoner on prisoner to mentor. And as I was sort of working with some of the guys with dyslexia, some of them, just needed a little bit more help. They could actually become mentors. And literally in the first pilot scheme, we actually mentored 20 prisoners. I was actually putting them through courses. I started putting the mentoring course. So I literally had to change all my work, what I was doing. I started putting ideas together, and in the 6 months we interviewed 824 men, and 400 of them, 400 and something, was actually dyslexic. And this is where this report came in. And this was the first one. And as I say, we looked at mentoring, we looked at induction, we looked at the classrooms, we looked at how you were going to teach, we looked at the men who was becoming mentors, we looked at working with the officers. Some officers were engaging, some officers wasn't. But again, what we've got to remember is that in a prison, so many people have gone in with an idea, with a project. 6 months later, the funding's gone, so is the project. And the prisoners are left. The prisoner left angry, frustrated, because, they started this great project and it had gone. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. So I set up, in the last sort of like 5th month, 6th month, we set up a presentation to the men who had actually, funded the project, put the money together for us to be able to do this 6 months project. As I say, we got all the men to talk about their lives inside prison and outside prison. There is a video on YouTube. I think you only see a little bit of it, but you will see some of me actually being in the prison, and the noises and the clinks of the gates and the keys and everything is quite a noisy video, but it was nothing that we could do. So here we had our first 6 months pilot scheme. And I think what shocked everybody is that nobody realised that I had done all these questionnaires, I had done all these feedback sheets. Every lesson I did was a feedback sheet. Every idea I put towards these men, there were sheets, there was feedback sheets, there was ideal sheets that, we'd been sitting there discussing how to take this forward. How would we do it? Who would we get involved? And as I say, at the end, after 6 months, it did take us a few months to actually put this book together, because at the time I wasn't collating the information at weekends. I was literally just putting more questionnaires, and by the 6 months, I had all these 824 forms to fill out and all the courses that I put together. So it had taken me quite a few weeks to put this together. But as I say, meant for, with myself, we managed to get more funding to actually have this booklet produced, to show you that the information that they did, what sort of handouts we're using, what was our sort of method of our mentoring courses. And this is where I realised on the first mentoring course, I was putting certain things in for mentors to learn, but I realised that after being in the prison, we really had to not just look at the learning, we had to look at the social skills, we had to look at what they were clever at. So we had to fill in a lot more information. There was a lot more resources I started to bring in, a lot more teaching ideas I was bringing in. At the time, as I say, I was interviewing men, and you found that their lives were hard, where they were dyslexic, they hadn't passed their driving theory test, they were telling me they was all self-employed, when in fact they were all cash in hand because the dyslexic men couldn't write to fill in forms. They hadn't passed their driving theory test. So we were looking at some huge problems here that we were going to have to work with. So the project and pilot scheme lasted for 6 months, and in January of 2007 we actually launched this book and a video. Now this is where I'm going to end this video today, because really and truly, again, I want to show you bits of how it, how each part of the project developed, how we saw different things through different types of the projects that we went into, because as I say, we had in the end 3 strands of funding. We did have the mentoring for you at the beginning, then I had 3 months of voluntary work. I wasn't going to be like anybody else. I wasn't, as soon as the project finished, funding ran out, I was going to walk. I could not leave these men. I was so proud of what they'd achieved for me. They had given me so many stories about their life. The particular one, we all seem to remember is Frankie, and again you will see this on YouTube, and this was done by BBC Look East. And Frankie was a 67-year-old man, and he had come into FTC, which is a foundation training call centre, and they were teaching the prisoners to do interviews so they could go out for jobs. Well, Frankie had never really been on courses, but again the government said he had to do a course, and because Frankie wasn't writing very well and reading very well, he really didn't enjoy this. Well, as I say, I always remember one Friday afternoon, I sat with Frankie and explained to him, why he hadn't learned. That was most important to me. They had to understand why they hadn't learned, that somebody had sat and told them things and it hadn't worked for them. So I sat with him and I explained different ways that it could work for him. I told him about multisensory, I told him about filling, I told him about writing in the air, all these different ways that I showed him. And he would have had to go back and learn for himself how this was going to help him. Well, that was the Friday, and I didn't go back in the prison till the Wednesday. And all of a sudden I'm having the deputy governor telling me, Frankie wants to see you, Frankie wants to see you, and I'm thinking I've done something wrong, and I'm thinking I'm in trouble, and I'm thinking, oh no, I've gone to see Frankie, and he's over the moon, because all of a sudden, in them days, since the Friday, in 2 days he said he's learnt his alphabet. He had learned different ways to do it, and all of a sudden now he retained it, it sunk in. And now all of a sudden he was now writing, he was now looking at his dictionaries, he was now feeling confident because he had learnt a way to help him. Now, because of everybody seeing this, and all of a sudden we had our first light bulb moment, people were realising something was happening here. And all of a sudden they brought in BBC Look East, and this is where, if you look for Frankie Sims on the BBC Look East, you will see his face. And when you see his face, he's shining, he's so excited because he now knows his alphabet. He can now write, and the biggest thing is he was writing home to his wife for the first time. Frankie has been in prison many, many years. And so not to have a letter, not to write to his wife, he was now writing to his grandchildren. And the best thing is about Frankie is the fact that he now had a choice. He was doing different courses. He was confident about what he wanted to do. And if he didn't understand, he knew that he could say now, where before he just felt he was stupid, he was thick, he was 67, nobody was going to listen to him. He knew now, he knows how to ask, and he knows how to tell people that he's not understanding it and try again. And that, I think, was absolutely a great story. So I'm going to end this film today all about Frankie and the great joy, again, a great joy with Frankie learning to read and to write and to, have a choice in jobs. Next video we will be talking about how the project got on a little bit further along the line. But again, I'm hoping you're loving the videos. I'm loving sharing everything that I'm doing. And I'd say good night from now, and we'll be seeing you very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.